Good evening, America. Angie here, welcoming you to N3 Primetime. Tonight, we're dialed into the pulse of the nation. Gary's got the news lined up for you. The Middle East teeters on the brink with Hezbollah upping the ante, and President Biden is in Israel amidst chaos. Back home, Trump's courtroom saga sparks uproar. Is justice on trial? Alarm bells ring as a new DHS hire with radical ties lands a crucial immigration role. Media's quick draw on the Gaza hospital blast stirs a storm. Where is the accountability? And Jim Jordan is in the crosshairs, labeled a terrorist, while the media tiptoes around Hamas. Stay tuned for our comment section. We're spotlighting your thoughts. Plus, don't miss Looking at You, where we unveil a stir causer you ought to know. Buckle up. We're diving deep. Over to you, Gary.
Good evening, America. Welcome to N3 Primetime. Tonight's stories aren't just headlines. They're the echoes of a nation grappling with the tremors of a world in disarray. The Middle East is a tinderbox with leaders playing with matches. Trump's legal woes, a mirror to our justice system, possibly clouded by vendettas. And Nejwa Ali's appointment, a potential crack in our nation's security armor. The media's Gaza blunder and the targeting of Jim Jordan, proof that the guardians of truth sometimes wear masks. These stories matter because they're more than about global politics or courtroom dramas. They're about the integrity of institutions we trust to safeguard our freedoms, our security, and the truth. And speaking of trust and security, let's talk about your financial future. Imagine it as a ship in these turbulent geopolitical seas. Wouldn't you want to secure your vessel with the sturdiest materials like gold and silver? And that's where Noble Gold Investments come in. Like a seasoned captain, they navigate you away from the rocky waves of financial uncertainty, helping you secure and diversify your assets with precious metals. And here is the kicker. They're now offering a free 5-ounce silver American the Beautiful bullion coin with qualified accounts. Navigate to nextnewsgold.com and anchor your finances with the gold standard of security. They're the only crew that I trust with my ship. The number's on the screen, 877-646-5347. They would love to hear from you, even if you're not investing. Thank them for sponsoring this program. Now, tossing it back to you, Angie, what stories have you got that America needs to hear tonight? Good evening, I'm Gary Franchi, and tonight we dive deep into a powder keg where one wrong move could ignite World War III. Hezbollah's brazen threats against Israel, escalating tensions at the Lebanon border, and the Biden administration's decision to possibly deploy U.S. Marine power in the region have all converged into a perfect storm of international concern. From a shocking explosion at a Gaza hospital to Iran's stern warning, the narrative is rapidly unfolding, and as the president lands in Israel amidst the chaos, the stakes couldn't be higher. You don't want to miss our in-depth analysis, and especially our final thought on why every American citizen should be paying very close attention to this evolving situation. This week, the world's eyes were glued to the Middle East. Lebanon-based Hezbollah terrorists known for their aggression towards Israel are ramping up their rhetoric, raising concerns about a possible escalation into an all-out conflict. Simultaneously, the Biden administration has not ruled out the deployment of U.S. military force if Hezbollah takes action against Israel. The situation has reached a boiling point with the ominous shadow of World War III looming overhead. With recent missile exchanges between Hamas and Israeli defense forces, the situation even grows more precarious. These continuous volleys came on the heels of Hamas' aggressive attack on Israel on October 7th. The playing field gets even more complicated when you factor in the stern warning from Deputy Commander of Iran's elite Revolutionary Guards. He cautioned that Israel could face another significant blow if it doesn't put an end to what they term as atrocities in Gaza. A recent surge of tensions at the Lebanon border keeps everyone on edge, especially with Hezbollah militants already in a gunfire exchange with Israeli defense forces. The Biden administration's contemplation of using military power against Hezbollah if they join the Gaza war has brought concerns right to the forefront. With Hezbollah's immense rocket arsenal, the involvement would indeed escalate the situation, possibly bringing in the United States and increasing the potential for civilian casualties in both Israel and Lebanon. This past weekend, the scenario further deteriorated when Israel retaliated by shelling Syria after 2 rockets were launched from the region. Iran's subsequent threat to intervene if Israel took aggressive actions in Gaza adds another layer to this already convoluted situation. Now, to give you a clear picture of the on-the-ground events, especially about the devastating airstrike on a Gaza hospital, not an airstrike, but a detonation, a misfire. Let's turn now to live now from Fox for an update.
Well, this hospital strike was immense. We were actually able to speak to some IDF spokesperson who was able to relay some of the information that has been passed on throughout the night, but they wanted to confirm again to us that this was a Palestinian Islamic Jihad rocket that failed. That is what they're saying at this hour, that it was not a rocket or a missile that came from Israeli forces. Now, one of the questions we had for them, was this a rocket that was intercepted by the Iron Dome? Because this is a very small area again. This is, Gaza Strip is roughly the size of Philadelphia. The Iron Dome could have can intercept rockets over Palestinian territory in the Gaza Strip. They're telling us again that this was a failed rocket that came down and tragically struck this hospital. They said that they saw it on their drones that were over the Gaza Strip at the time, and that it landed in the parking lot. Now, thousands of injured are in these hospitals. Thousands more are outside because they believe these hospitals are safe. They are refuge from the Israeli strikes that are peppering the city all around them. So many of the people that are around this hospital, many of the dead, are women and children who, again, were seeking refuge in this area to try and avoid strikes in other places. So right now we're being told that it was not an Israeli strike from the Israeli Air Force or from a missile fired from all of the military equipment that we see dotted along the southern border right now with the Gaza Strip today. We see a massive amount of equipment that is staged preparing for this ground invasion of the Gaza Strip. But again, they're telling us this was not the Israelis. This was a failed Palestinian Islamic Jihad rocket. Palestinian Islamic Jihad and Hamas, two in the same in the eyes of the Israelis, and in the eyes of the United States. The State Department lists both groups as terrorist organizations.
Now, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin has already signaled the severity of the situation by issuing a Be Ready to Deploy order for 2,000 U.S. troops, positioning them in the eastern Mediterranean. This move clearly showcases that the administration is taking no chances and preparing for all possible outcomes. Now, in an attempt to negotiate and stabilize, President Joe Biden arrived in Israel. However, his trip hasn't been without its share of controversy. Biden's plans have been altered significantly, with Arab leaders refusing to meet him in the aftermath of the Gaza hospital event. This is a clear indication of the diplomatic fallout resulting from the hospital explosion. The situation outside the U.S. Embassy in Beirut has further aggravated. Reports indicate that riot police and tear gas were deployed against massive crowds brandishing Hezbollah flags, leading to fears of more significant unrest. With the already tensed Lebanon-Israeli border situation, the specter of Hezbollah's direct involvement in the conflict looms large. For more details on Biden's visit and the latest political undercurrents, let's take a look at global news.
In Gaza, did the president get on the plane?
He did, Donna, but no one knows what the situation will be like by the time he actually lands in Israel tomorrow. The reason being that he's already had to cut part of his trip short. He is no longer attending a summit in Jordan with the leaders of Jordan, Egypt, and the Palestinian Authority. They had backed out of meeting with Biden after that explosion at the Gaza hospital. That said, Biden is still pressing ahead with his meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He has very specific goals in his meetings with the Israelis, specifically reassuring U.S. support for that country and trying to negotiate a humanitarian corridor out of Gaza, both for foreign nationals and to allow some sort of aid in. Biden is also said to want some sort of assessment of what Israel's military goals for its eventual ground invasion may look like, to get a better understanding of what they are and what support the U.S. can provide.
Before his departure to Israel in a whirlwind turn of events, the White House scrapped the entire leg of Biden's Jordan visit. This abrupt cancellation coincided with Arab leaders announcing their reluctance to meet the president, chiefly because of the U.S. being Israel's primary funder and supporter. In an attempt to calm the surging emotions, Biden expressed his deepest condolences for the victims of the Gaza hospital explosion, as per the official White House statement. Joe Biden visited Tel Aviv to address the Gaza hospital blast through a written statement, though throughout a crucial dialogue, his gaze has mostly lowered. He referred to Hamas as the other team, liken it to a sports match. Clearly not his best moment. Take a look.
I was deeply saddened and outraged by the explosion at the hospital in Gaza yesterday. And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you. But there's a lot of people out there not sure. So we got to overcome a lot of things.
You know, watching that clip, it's really a shame to see that this is the face of America in the face of World War III. The man looks like he's practically asleep at the wheel there. Not the projection of power that America needs to present at this time. In related news, and indicating the international repercussions of the recent events, both Russia and the UAE have called for an extraordinary UN Security Council meeting post the Gaza hospital explosion. Now let's move our focus to Beirut, Lebanon, particularly around the U.S. Embassy. The situation appears to be going from bad to worse. Reports are coming in thick and fast about protests brewing, and from what we understand, the atmosphere is extremely charged. Take a look.
Well, I've spoken to several of my sources, one in Amman, Jordan, that says there are protests outside the embassy there. Another in Istanbul, Turkey, also protests with hundreds taking to the streets. And a good friend of mine, a freelance journalist as well, Hunter Williamson, is outside the American embassy in Beirut. He's been sending me some of these images, which I believe you can see now. They're burning an auxiliary building near the compound to the embassy. They were dispersing these individuals earlier, the protesters, with water cannons and tear gas. The situation there appears to be deteriorating rapidly, and that's a major concern. Lebanon is a major concern. It's on the northern border with Israel, and it's where Hezbollah, another group that aims to target Israelis, is teetering on the brink of getting involved in this fight. There have been border skirmishes, there have been deaths, there have been journalists that have been killed on that border covering the skirmishes with Hezbollah and IDF Israeli forces. This situation is a powder keg and has the potential to erupt and involve multiple players that stretch across Syria and Iran. And right now, with this strike on the hospital, and tomorrow, Hamas calling for an international day of rage, the concern at this hour is that the other players who have sat on the sidelines for the most part will in the morning, or right now as we speak, be mobilizing, being prepared to involve themselves in this war. And we have multiple fronts that the Israelis will be fighting. The American carrier groups are just off the coast in the Mediterranean. They have pledged their support to the Israeli cause. This could erupt into a much broader regional conflict, and within hours we could see the consequences of that.
This cascade of events has not only political but also human implications. Hezbollah has not minced words in denouncing what they claim to be Israel's assault on a Gaza hospital, resulting in massive Palestinian casualties. Their announcement of a day of unprecedented anger against Israel, especially during Biden's visit, sends a clear and potent message. Hezbollah's strongly worded statement lays blame squarely on Israel and, by extension, the United States for what they label as a massacre, while Israeli Defense Forces attribute the rocket misfiring to the Islamic Jihad, another militant group based in Gaza. Hezbollah's public denouncement is explicit and unambiguous. Their call for a day of rage has led to swelling crowds near the Lebanon-Israel border, sparking concerns about potential escalation and conflict. At this juncture, the primary question for everyone is, where does the Middle East go from here? For the answer, we must consider all sides of the argument, and even then, predicting the future is a daunting task. But there's one thing we can all agree on. The current scenario is deeply concerning. This unfolding narrative requires the world's attention, and as global powers intervene, we hope for a peaceful solution. The Middle East has once again become a focal point of the world's attention. With President Biden's visit to Israel, the pressure for a diplomatic resolution is immense. The world will be watching keenly over the next few days, hoping for a peaceful solution to this escalating crisis. In these critical times, the world looks to its leaders for strength, direction, and assurance. Unfortunately, President Biden's public missteps and stumbles on stages to difficulties on stairs project a concerning image. Perception matters, and the perception of a leader's physical frailty can often translate into a perceived vulnerability on the global stage. In an already volatile Middle East, a strong American presence is vital. Biden's noticeable weaknesses could not only exacerbate tensions, but also potentially make him a target for adversaries seeking to further destabilize the region. Every move, every gesture is under scrutiny, and any sign of vulnerability could embolden those with sinister intentions, pulling America deeper into this powder keg. It's a sobering reality to consider, but this world needs steadfast leadership now more than ever to prevent the spark that could ignite World War III. Over to Angie now with a story of unexpected bravery that's making waves. What have you got?
In France, a nun's surprising takedown of an environmental activist went viral, spotlighting the fierce standoff between the missionary family of Notre Dame and eco-activists. This group, staunchly opposing the FMND Spiritual Center, labels it an ecological threat. But the nuns stood their ground, particularly one who astonishingly embodied their resolve through a tackle, an act that ricocheted around the web, reaffirming the Catholic community's spirited resilience. This isn't just about religious clout, it's a vivid display of courage and conviction. In a broader sense, it's a narrative of faith communities worldwide standing firm in their beliefs, especially when challenged. Dive deeper, tap the link below. Gary has the details on Trump's explosive remarks outside a New York courtroom. Over to you, Gary.
In the tempestuous arena of modern politics, former President Donald J. Trump finds himself once more in the spotlight, not for policies or rallies, but due to legal challenges. But is this all about justice, or is there more tactical game at play? Our exclusive video segment will showcase candid responses from Trump himself and insights from his lawyer. What they reveal may shock you, raising even bigger questions about the intent of the New York Attorney General's pursuits. As we dive deeper into this complex narrative, be sure not to miss our final thought towards the end, a reflection that might just change how you view the American Republic today. Good evening, folks. Gary Franchi here. Tonight we're diving deep into the intricacies of the political and legal tempest swirling in New York City. It's impossible to discuss modern American politics without mentioning Donald Trump. Regardless of your stance on his policies or persona, there's no denying his knack for making headlines. Freshly caught in a media maelstrom, the former president was recently seen stepping assertively outside a Manhattan courtroom. His criticisms, as fiery and as unbridled as ever, set the news cycle ablaze, cementing his role as a polarizing figure in today's socio-political landscape. Take a look.
If Jordan gets the speakership, is Jordan ready for that? Mr. President, what are your thoughts on the trial so far? You've been listening to the witness testimony.
The trial is going very well, but we don't have a jury. So I have no idea what happens with this. The trial's going very well. Deutsche Bank testified that, first of all, the loans were paid off. There was no default. There was no problem. There's no victim except me. I'm the victim here. There's no victim. There's no victim whatsoever. This is just a witch hunt by an attorney general that ran for governor and failed. She used me because she ran for governor and she failed. There were no defaults. Every loan was perfect. They were all paid off. If they ever did this to anybody else, any other business person, what they would find would be ridiculous. You know what they find with us? Nothing. There's nothing. The loans were perfect. The loans were paid off. All interest was paid. There was no defaults. I never even received a default letter. And I got plaques and trophies from the institutions in many cases for having done such a good job, which we're going to be presenting in trial. This is just a railroad job. It's a witch hunt with no jury, and it's a runaway freight train, and it's a disgrace. And any business that moved into New York should not do it. You should stay the hell out of here, because I'll tell you what, this is a corrupt system that we're in.
Why do you think your family is being persecuted? What do you think about Cohen not being
I'll tell you what, Cohen didn't have the guts, but I'll tell you why my family is being persecuted.
Yes,
because I'm leading in the polls. against Biden by a lot. You saw Washington Post the other day came out, ABC fake news. Maybe it is fake, I don't know. But we were leading by 10 or 11 points. Yesterday, another one came out, we're leading Biden by 6 points. And that's why. And we're leading the Republicans, we're leading the sanctimonious by 60 points, 60 points more. And that's why this is happening. If this weren't happening, if I weren't running for president and doing so well, winning, it wouldn't be happening. You know what happened in 2016? And you know what happened in 2020? We did much better in 2020 than we did in 2016. Getting millions and millions more votes. People don't like to talk about that. But got millions and millions more votes. That's why this is happening. That's the only reason it's happening. I hope that, for Speaker, I hope that Jim is doing well. You'll have to tell me I've been wasting time on a railroaded court. I should be entitled, I should be entitled to a jury, like anybody else is entitled to a jury. But this case should have never been brought. It's an insult. Remember this, the financial statements are very conservative. The real numbers are more. They're conservative financial. They said, oh, the financial statements are valued higher. The financial statements are at a lower number. They're conservative. So there is no fraud. Number two, we have a reliance clause. We have what's called a disclaimer right up front, all over it, all over the financial. It says don't rely on these financial statements. Do your own due diligence. Do your own analysis. So there's no fraud. And number three, I said before, I'm being tried under a statute that nobody has ever been tried under. That doesn't give me a jury, that doesn't give me any rights whatsoever. They can do whatever they want. And it's a disgrace. Now it's turned out that I have great financial statements. It's turned out that the company is worth much more than the financial statements. They were saying just the opposite. They valued things at ridiculous numbers, like Mar-a-Lago at $18 million, when it's worth perhaps 100 times that amount. Perhaps 100 times. The fact is we have a corrupt legal system in New York City and New York State. And you know what? We have a corrupt legal system in our country. The DOJ is corrupt, and they're leading this whole thing for election interference. Thank you very much.
Are you going to come back and waste some time again, sir? Are you coming back tomorrow?
The video showcases Trump at his most candid. He categorically refutes any financial misgiving, stating that all loans were fully serviced. Trump's fervent use of the term witch hunt paints a vivid picture of his perceived persecution. His reference to a runaway freight train seems to not only describe this legal battle, but personally symbolizes his view of the current political climate. Yet it wasn't just Trump's words that reverberated across the city's skyscrapers. Alina Habba, the legal eagle championing his cause, amplified the courtroom's echoes with her own comments. Standing tall beside her former client, she wasn't merely content playing second fiddle. She emerged from the shadows, casting her own critical spotlight onto New York Attorney General Letitia James. Take a look.
So I'm going to take some questions, but first I want to add some color to what my client has said. This has been publicly filed. It is exactly the waiver that he has referred to in the Statement of Financial Conditions, and I want to understand how clear it is. It states such valuation methods include but are not limited to the use of appraisals, capitalization of anticipated earnings, recent sales and offers, estimates of current values as determined by Mr. Trump in conjunction with his associates and in some instances, outside professionals. Considerable judgment is necessary to interpret market data and develop the related estimates of current value. Accordingly, the estimates presented herein are not necessarily indicative of the amounts that could be realized upon the disposition of the assets or payment of the related liabilities. The use of different market assumptions and/or estimation methodologies may have a material effect on the estimated current value amounts. Let me explain to you what that is. That is on the Weiser-Mazar Statement of Financial Condition in the front that is always provided to everyone. We have heard numerous witnesses come in and out of this court wasting taxpayer dollars, wasting numerous taxpayer dollars in a city that has fallen apart because they don't want to believe that any business in New York can conduct themselves without the Attorney General sticking her nose in your business with a statute that has never been used against an individual. This is a scary precedent legally for any business in New York. What is happening now is they are saying that the Attorney General is no longer going to use 6312 against consumers. She's going to come after you and your personal business, and then she will bring your children involved because of political motivation. And that is all that is here. I'll take some questions. Anybody?
Is Donald Trump going to his deposition?
Of course. He always cooperates. He will cooperate. He's going to be at that ridiculous hearing for a deposition. I'm not going to give you details of my job.
He's coming back here today or no?
He's here. He's here. Yeah.
Alito, we just heard an appraiser say that he was surprised that his advice ended up on these statements of financial conditions. What does the former president have to say to that?
Well, the former president is going to say anything about it. We're going to cross-examine him, and I think that will say it all. I think you guys need to understand something. Banks hire appraisers. Everybody here knows that. Anybody here that's purchased a home or purchased anything in real estate understands a very basic thing. Let me put this whole case in plain English for you, okay? You are an individual. You go to get something appraised. You say, my house is worth X. The bank doesn't take your word for it. They hire people like that gentleman to go do their own values. Now, those values are going to be lower than the ones that the homeowner or the commercial real estate owner would use. It's very basic. Anybody watching any business television could understand or explain to you these basic principles of real estate. But the point is that's not what this is about. That is not what this case is about. It has nothing to do with this because the statement of financial condition was actually low. The statement of financial condition didn't include President Trump's brand. The statement of financial condition does not include the big picture. If you take Trump Tower and you take the Trump name off of that building and you put Letitia James's name on that building, it will not be worth what it is worth when Donald Trump owns it.
Do you have a sense of when the former president will be testifying in this trial?
When they call him, he will come up and testify. Thank you.
Wow. A potent blend of legal acumen and unabashed confidence have questioned the very fabric of the New York justice system, accusing James of overstepping her boundaries and insinuating personal vendettas might be influencing the trial. Habba's words serve as a clarion call for many who question the impartiality of justice. Now let's pivot momentarily. In this whirlwind of legal disputes and political power plays, stability and certainty are often sought and yet rarely found. Be it the volatility of court decisions or the unpredictability of the stock market, the parallels are clear. Enter Noble Gold Investments, the anchor amidst these turbulent times. The firm comprehends the ebb and flow of financial fortunes and has a proven track record and to be a bedrock for countless clients seeking solace in the storm. Take a moment to hear what clients are saying. With Noble Gold, I've found my financial compass, or their team is the ally you want in the economic battleground. Like having a seasoned attorney navigating the legal maze, Noble Gold provides expert guidance in the intricate world of investments. And currently they're offering a complimentary 5-ounce silver America the Beautiful bullion coin for qualifying accounts. So if you're seeking a haven in the financial fray, visit nextnewsgold.com. They are the gold standard in trustworthiness. Now, reverting back to the Trump saga, it's crucial to comprehend the broader implications of this legal tussle. The crux of this dispute transcends Trump's personal finances. At its heart, it's an exploration of power dynamics and accountability. There are layers to this ongoing story. Trump's financial dealings, particularly those related to his vast real estate empire, have long been under scrutiny, from allegations of tax evasion to questions about the transparency of his financial declarations. Critics have been probing for potential discrepancies. Yet Trump and his allies maintain these probes are just the latest in a long line of politically motivated attacks aimed at tarnishing his legacy. The discourse also touches upon the pivotal role media plays in shaping public opinion. The Trump legal team's strategic decision to address the media outside the courthouse underlines their cognizance of the media's influence. By taking their case directly to the public, they're attempting to counteract any potential bias and control the narrative. Habba's commentary, which resonated so strongly, also carries with it broader implications. If the assertion that the New York legal system is susceptible to political biases holds any merit, it beckons a thorough introspection of the judiciary's role. Is the justice system truly blind, or are there unseen influences swaying the scales? And furthermore, her warnings extend beyond the immediate circle of Trump and his businesses. If New York is indeed setting a new, potentially biased precedent in its legal approach, other businesses and high-profile personalities might find themselves wary of coming under the city's judicial microscope. The latest chapter in Trump's legal odyssey is more than just another courtroom drama. It's emblematic of the greater socio-political tapestry of the United States. The outcome of this legal confrontation, irrespective of the verdict, will undoubtedly shape the national discourse for years to come. As we continue to follow this saga, we're reminded that the threads of politics, law, and media are intricately woven, each influencing the trajectory of the other. So as we've journeyed through the intertwining paths of politics and justice, a chilling question lingers. Are we as a society allowing political battles to overshadow genuine legal concerns? The relentless legal pursuits against Trump might not be simple justice, but a broader political play. The moves by the New York Attorney General and certain factions within the political arena could be perceived as maneuvers to ensure a future without Trump's political influence. Such tactics, if true, erode the core of our values as a nation, where every individual, regardless of stature or affiliation, deserves impartiality. As 2024 draws near, distinguishing between honest legal confrontations and politically motivated tactics becomes more crucial than ever. Our republic demands it. Angie, dive into why TikTok's new Disney collaboration is raising eyebrows. What's this all about?
TikTok, controlled by China, just unveiled a shocking partnership with Disney, launching a content hub to push content potentially filled with communist undertones to young, impressionable audiences. This move alarms parents and security experts who see TikTok as a peril to both child safety and national security. Despite celebrating its 100th anniversary, Disney is now in cahoots with an app notorious for concerns like meddling in U.S. affairs and spying on individuals. This alliance isn't just worrisome, it's a potential threat, with ByteDance, TikTok's parent company, already under scrutiny. It's high time parents and authorities scrutinize TikTok's content and Disney's decision to partner with a platform fraught with such alarming controversies. We need to sound a resounding message. Our kids' minds aren't for sale. Dive deeper, tap the link below. Switching now to a contentious hire in Washington, Gary's covering a special report that's stirring significant controversy. Gary?
In an age where background affiliations and online trails play a pivotal role in everything from job applications to dating profiles, there's a tale that might leave you confounded. How does a public affairs officer for the Palestinian Liberation Organization, whose social media teems with extremist sentiments, pivot to a role within America's Department of Homeland Security? As you delve deeper into Nejwa Ali's controversial journey, prepare for revelations that just might make you question the very mechanisms that guard our nation's gates. As the pieces come together, stay with us until the end for a final thought that encapsulates the audacious paradox of this tale, a reflection that might prompt you to ask, just how safe are we really? We start with a shocking revelation. Nejwa Ali, who served as a public affairs officer for the Palestinian delegation in the United States during 2016 and 2017, was subsequently hired by the U.S. Immigration Enforcement Agency. Not only that, she's now in a position to decide who enters this great republic as an immigrant or an asylum seeker. Her stint with the Palestinian delegation wasn't minor. The organization is openly identified as the PLO office in D.C. A reminder for those who might need it, this office was later ousted from the U.S. by the Trump administration. However, instead of disappearing into obscurity, she found herself a role at the Department of Homeland Security. Here she was given the responsibility of applying immigration laws to asylum applications. Now one might ask, has Ali's past and her potential bias impacted her role? Her extensive and concerning social media posts seem to be resounding yes. Under the pseudonym Falastin Miamor, Ali platforms are filled with extremist rhetoric, blatantly showing her allegiance. This is the same woman tasked with ensuring newcomers to our republic aren't a threat. Yet her posts glorifying Hamas attacks on Israel, one of which showcases terrorists parachuting into the Jewish state with the cry "Free Palestine," raises questions about her ability to remain impartial. But that's not all. Jews who are hoping to find a home in the United States might find themselves at an impasse if their applications land on her desk. From her posts, it's evident that her prejudice doesn't just end at governments. She expects every Israeli to oppose their own nation or else be held accountable, a disturbing sentiment for an officer of her stature. But here's where it gets more troubling. On October 9th, she posted a brazen video captioned "F Israel" and any Jew that supports Israel, followed by an unsettling anti-Semitic cartoon. Her disdain for Israel and her beliefs that the media is manipulated by Israeli propaganda is evident from her posts, one of which confidently states that Palestine will be free one day. You might think surely there's oversight at DHS. However, when the Daily Wire reached out to USCIS, they received a cookie-cutter response emphasizing that employees are held to high ethical standards. Yet when questioned directly, her audacious responses reflected a worrying confidence. She made it clear that she still works for the DHS and was unapologetic about her extremist views. And just like that, here's a transition we need, especially in such pressing times. Let's discuss real quick a study that shows a unique way to bolster your odds of losing weight, just like being thorough in our investigations. Being consistent with stepping on a scale can help in keeping those weight goals forefront in your mind. And to amplify the benefits, hundreds of thousands are turning to nature-backed weight loss supplements. Discover an impeccable alternative that merges nature's gift with science to support weight management. And guess what? You can save 51% off this month only. Grab it at trimwithgary.com before time runs out. Now back to our investigation. What stands out is USCIS' decision to hire someone like Ali, especially given her affiliations with a quasi-government group previously expelled from our republic. Even as the U.S. faces pressure to welcome Palestinian refugees amidst conflicts in the Gaza Strip, we must question the integrity of officers who advise our government on such matters. Her prejudiced stance against Israel contradicts the republic's policies. Even as President Joe Biden emphasizes his firm support for Israel, employees like Ali pose threats to the nation's stance on terror. It's staggering to consider that in a post-9/11 world where meticulous vetting and background checks have become the norm, glaring oversights such as the hiring of Nejwa Ali can occur. The Department of Homeland Security, an institution tasked with ensuring our nation's safety, becomes questionable in its integrity when it allows individuals with such evident extremist ties and open biases to hold positions of influence. By permitting Ali, with her openly prejudiced views and past affiliations, to be part of its structure, DHS doesn't just risk its reputation, but potentially jeopardizes national security. The true cause for concern emerges as we grapple with the deeply unsettling question: was this merely an oversight, or was it an intentional move? If such lapses in judgment can occur in an agency as crucial as the Department of Homeland Security, it forces us to ask another chilling question. Are we inadvertently opening the door to potential threats from within? Angie has the latest on Tim Scott's campaign turbulence as key donors retreat. Angie, what is happening there?
Tim Scott's run for the presidency hits turbulence as his key super PAC pulls millions in TV ads, a clear signal of waning donor confidence. This drastic cutback coincides with Scott's underperforming fundraising and a mere 2% showing in recent polls. Trust in the Mission PAC labels paid ads ineffective for now, opting to funnel funds into grassroots efforts. But the real shocker? The PAC dismissed any moderate's chance at the primaries, a jab at Nikki Haley underscoring deep GOP divides. With over $15 million yanked from TV spots, Scott's White House bid seems to be on shaky ground. Dive deeper, tap the link below. In a world rattled by misinformation, Gary's special report tackles media accountability. Gary, it's a pressing issue.
Have we reached a point where mainstream media blindly promotes terrorist propaganda? A recent Gaza hospital explosion has brought to light an alarming trend. Some major networks have been too quick to accept the claims of Hamas without due diligence. As tensions escalate, the media's role in shaping public opinions is undeniable. Are we being misled by those trusted to inform us? Stay with us for an in-depth analysis of how CBS and other outlets responded to the Gaza incident, and trust me, you don't want to miss our final thought on why every American needs to be vigilant about where they get their information. Over the past 24 hours, the media landscape has been ablaze with reports and speculation surrounding an explosion at a Gaza hospital. And this is where things take a problematic turn. The liberal media, without adequate verification, was quick to push allegations made by Hamas, suggesting that this devastating event was due to an Israeli airstrike. This claim comes in spite of video evidence indicating the blast was likely the result of an errant rocket from Gaza. Yet CBS Evening News appeared to lean in favor of these unsubstantiated claims. Norah O'Donnell, the anchor for CBS Evening News, began her segment on the matter with a tone of despair. She commented on the explosion and how it destroyed the hope that President Biden's visit to Israel could offer solace to the people of Gaza. What's even more perplexing is her insinuation that Israel was attempting to absolve itself of responsibility, citing their evidence suggesting the explosion was the consequence of a failed rocket launch by Islamic Jihad. One might wonder, why did she drop Palestinian from the group's name? Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Take a look.
We begin tonight with the breaking news that is reverberating around the world. When President Biden announced his trip to the Middle East, there was hope that his meetings with both Israeli and Arab leaders could result in relief to Gaza and the release of American hostages. Tonight, that hope has faded. We're learning new details tonight about an explosion at a hospital in Gaza City. The Palestinian Health Ministry saying hundreds of people were killed and many more injured. Take a look at some of these images. Women and children in the aftermath waiting for treatment, terrified. The hospital just hit and overwhelmed. Now, Hamas is blaming an Israeli airstrike, but Israel is denying responsibility, saying their intelligence shows it was caused by a failed rocket launch by the group Islamic Jihad. Throughout this conflict, civilians have taken refuge around hospitals and schools in hopes of avoiding the near constant airstrikes from above. And tonight, that safety shattered.
This form of reporting not only misguides the public, but it also pours gasoline on an already raging fire. Emmanuel Fabian, a military correspondent from the Times of Israel, has collected multiple videos seemingly confirming that a rocket attack was indeed in progress, with an errant rocket subsequently plummeting into Gaza at the approximate time and location of the hospital's explosion. You can see here on the screen the rockets going up, and then watch towards the center. You'll see the hospital explosion as it happens. Clearly a result of that rocket firing. Just like how misinformation can cripple our understanding, did you know that the body loses 5 to 10% of lean muscle mass every decade after turning 30? This deterioration is akin to the decline of truthful reporting in some major media outlets, and just like our muscles, our trust in media is waning as many rejuvenate their muscles with new products like the ones that I've come across. It's time to rejuvenate our faith in truthful reporting. This product with 4 science-backed ingredients combats age-related muscle and strength loss, and you can get 41% off this month until stock runs out at gainwithgary.com. Simply tap more below for details. Now back to the matter at hand. Diagata from CBS went on to allow Hamas an unchecked platform to accuse both Israel and the U.S. of tragedy. Moreover, he mentioned countries such as Egypt, Qatar, Iran, Jordan, and Turkey condemned the alleged airstrike. But context is everything. It's an open secret that these countries have a history of animosity towards Israel. Now, his framing of Israel appeared biased, tying the hospital explosion to other Israeli airstrikes and depicting scenes of misery and bloodshed, but the narrative lacks balance. It fails to recognize that the Israeli Defense Forces constantly warn civilians to evacuate areas prior to a strike, whereas Hamas has been documented advising the contrary. The media's inclination to rush judgments was even noted by Jeremy Bash, MSNBC's national security analyst. Bash, a former Democrat and CIA official, criticized the media for what he put as breathlessly word-for-word echoing Hamas propaganda that the Gaza hospital destruction was due to an Israeli airstrike. This on MSNBC of all places. Watch.
hostage. Now, to Ben's point, the reaction on the Arab street is a critical factor that's playing out at this hour. But why was there this reaction on the Arab street? It's because for some reason the news media ran out there and took the word lock, stock, and barrel of a Hamas ministry spokesperson that, of course, it was an Israeli airstrike before there was any evidence. Now, I agree. At this hour, we don't know. The IDF has put out a radar track showing that the missile from Islamic Jihad flew right over the hospital. They also say that there's a SIGINT intercept of Islamic Jihad fighters talking about firing this rocket. So we don't have the evidence, and I take the point earlier, we may never know. But the fact that it was reported breathlessly, word for word from Hamas, which obviously has no credibility. I mean, they told Richard Engel they'd release the hostages if there was no airstrikes within 1 hour. Your reporter just gave a setup piece in which she said there's been no airstrikes here for 3 hours. So where are the hostages? They're nowhere to be found. So I don't think we can credit Hamas. I think this is a dicey situation. I credit the president for going, and hopefully they'll be calm. Hopefully there'll be humanitarian relief inside the southern part of the Gaza Strip, and the U.S. can kind of transmit a message of strength and resolute support for Israel at this time.
It's a serious concern when even insiders from the media industry begin to question the reliability and credibility of their own peers. Bash rightly pointed out that for some inexplicable reason, major news outlets rush to adopt Hamas narrative without concrete evidence. His sentiments resonate with many. Media outlets either exhibit an anti-Israel bias or aim to project a misguided sense of neutrality, inadvertently propagandizing terrorist propaganda. Furthermore, recent imagery from the blast site has emerged suggesting inconsistencies with an airstrike. Shashank Joshi, the Economist defense editor, commented on how the damage wasn't aligned with claims of over 500 casualties or an airstrike. What's even more worrying is the ripple effect. Misinformation fuels public sentiment, shaping narratives and influencing foreign policy. With a majority of people dependent on the media for accurate updates on international events, such misreporting can have devastating consequences. And during a recent BBC interview, Israeli Defense Force spokesman Jonathan Conricus criticized the network and some of its reporters for what he perceives as an increasing pro-Hamas bias. He expressed concern over media outlets echoing unverified information from Hamas. Disturbed by the perceived reporting disparities, he highlighted an instance where the BBC swiftly attributed a Gaza hospital explosion to Israel based on Hamas claims. Watch this.
I listened into your correspondent, to Jeremy Bowen's report, where he says with absolute security and drama that this was an Israeli missile. What was that based on?
Well,
the
I think,
statement made by Hamas?
in fairness, Lieutenant, I think he says there was claim and then counterclaim, and I think that is what he set out in the video.
He said in the beginning, a missile strikes the hospital. He begins very dramatically, and missiles...
But he puts the IDF's denials in it, and he says, and I can remember the line, he says, which people in the Arabic world will not believe. He's putting the claim and the counterclaim. Look, right. I mean, the point... The point
claiming that it was a missile based on Hamas information. He hasn't been on the ground. He hasn't verified it himself. He's taking Hamas information and displaying that as the truth.
Okay.
It's not just about misinformation. It's about media responsibility. The media holds tremendous power, not only in how it reports the news, but how it shapes public sentiment. When one major network reports erroneously, many others often follow suit, resulting in a cascading effect of misguided narratives. History is filled with instances where such narratives have paved the way for confrontations, inflamed tensions, and sparked conflicts. Given the delicacy of the Israel-Palestine relationship, the media's role is especially critical. The public deserves to be informed with the most accurate representation of events, stripped of biases or preconceived notions. As we wind down this analysis, it's essential to note that every media house should not be painted with the same brush. However, the recent trends of certain outlets picking sides without substantial evidence underscores the necessity for the public to question, validate, and seek multiple sources for their information. This isn't just a debate on Israel versus Hamas. It's a reflection on the media's duty to provide reliable news, their ability to sway public sentiment, and the ramifications of their choices. As the adage goes, with great power comes great responsibility. It's high time the media outlets realize and act upon this principle. In a rapidly changing digital age, the lines between facts and fiction can blur quickly, As witnessed in the Gaza hospital explosion debacle, the media's role in shaping narratives is more critical than ever before. But with this power comes a monumental responsibility to inform the public accurately and fairly. CBS handling the situation serves as a stark reminder that even well-established media houses can err in their judgment, and when they do, the ramifications are felt far and wide. Misinformation, when spread, can fuel animosity, spark conflict, and deepen divides. The public places immense trust in the media, and while it's essential for consumers of news to approach everything critically and seek out diverse sources, the onus of responsibility lies heavily on the media. It's a sacred duty to inform without bias, to research meticulously, and to present a well-rounded picture. Let us hope that this incident serves as a wake-up call for all media outlets. In times of crisis and conflict, their role is not just to report the news, but to build bridges of understanding, foster empathy, and pave the way for peace. Big news in politics. Angie's covering Bobby Jindal's endorsement of Trump for 2024. What is the scoop, Ange?
There's another big development in the GOP presidential primary as Bobby Jindal, former Louisiana governor, has given his official nod to Donald Trump for the 2024 presidential race. Jindal took to Twitter, highlighting Trump's steadfast leadership, particularly regarding China and the Middle East. Jindal also underscored Trump's efforts towards American energy independence, healthcare reforms, and bolstered border security. The endorsement suggests a push for unity within the Republican Party, emphasizing the gravity of the upcoming election for America's core values. With the nation's foundations at stake, Trump emerges as the GOP frontrunner and crucial hope for the nation's future. The message is clear. Unity is the GOP's armor, and Trump is the knight leading the charge. Dive deeper. Tap the link below. A fiery development in Congress as Ilhan Omar levels a shocking accusation. Gary has the details.
Tonight we're diving deep, peeling back layers of media narrative that's left many scratching their heads. Have you ever pondered why the term terrorist seems so easily plastered onto our very own GOP Representative Jim Jordan, yet cautiously sidestepped for Hamas? The answers, my friends, might shock you to your core, but trust me, every American needs to hear the story and unravel the blatant double standards. Stick with me as we dissect the situation piece by piece, and believe me, by the end, our final thought will not only shed light on this pressing issue, but will make you question the very essence of our media's integrity. This isn't just news. It's an urgent call for discernment in our great republic. While GOP House Speaker nominee Jim Jordan is gearing up for what seems to be a whirlwind week, he might just have been handed the ammunition to make a significant point about media bias. The left and mainstream media, for reasons that boggle the mind, seem apprehensive about calling Hamas, known for its atrocious acts, what they are: terrorists. Yet without hesitation, they're quick to paint Jordan with that broad brush. If you need evidence, look no further than the tweets and talking points spearheaded by none other than Representative Ilhan Omar. She's often been silent when it comes to addressing Hamas actions, but when it comes to Jim Jordan, she brought up a 2015 statement reminding everyone, the former Speaker of the House, Boehner's words, that tagged Jordan as a terrorist in legislative terms. Let's pause and put things in perspective for a moment, because America faces threats from various corners, natural, political, and economic. In such unpredictable times, it's essential to be prepared. So think about it. The narratives around Jordan are much like unexpected crises. They don't come with warnings or scripts. That's why it's vital to safeguard ourselves and our families. And a timely consideration is at My Patriot Supply. They're offering a remarkable 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food kit. Just as you'd want to protect your family from unforeseen events, consider this kit as a safeguard. Don't miss this limited time opportunity. Check out preparewithgary.com and seize that 25% discount. Now back to the story at hand. NBC's Early Today played along with Omar's narrative, rounding off their segment by reiterating the Jim Jordan as terrorist tag, putting extra emphasis on the claim. Watch this.
Jordan's candidacy is controversial. He voted to object to the 2020 election results. On the floor, Democrats attacked Jordan's record.
Even leaders of his own party have called him a legislative terrorist.
Our thanks to Ryan for that update.
Yeah, nice way to close it out. Not to be outdone, MSNBC's Larry O'Donnell, too, hopped on the bandwagon. His segment featured Pete Aguilar painting Jordan with the same terrorist brush. Though in a rare display of balance, his show did label Hamas with the T word. Watch.
Before that vote, California Democrat Pete Aguilar said this about Republican candidate for Speaker Jim Jordan.
A vote today to make the architect of a nationwide abortion ban a vocal election denier and an insurrection insider to the Speaker of this House would be a terrible message to the country and our allies. Mr. Speaker, it would send an even more troubling message to our enemies that the very people who would seek to undermine democracy are rewarded with positions of immense power. We're talking about someone who has spent his entire career trying to hold our country back, putting our national security in danger, attempting government shutdown after government shutdown, wasting taxpayer dollars on baseless investigations with dead ends, authoring the very bill that would ban abortion nationwide without exceptions, and inciting violence on this chamber. Even leaders of his own party have called him a legislative terrorist.
The January 6th committee's final report said, quote, Representative Jordan was a significant player in President Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election.
But as Newsbusters executive editor Tim Graham, who perhaps presents the most damning of this bias, he highlighted that while PBS could easily call Jordan a terrorist, they referred to actual Hamas terrorists as mere militants. A peculiar choice of words indeed. Watch.
As a rank-and-file member, Jordan changed the game, attempting to extract gains with the threat of a government shutdown. Former Speaker John Boehner, who Jordan helped push out of that position in 2015, dubbed Jordan a legislative terrorist.
John Boehner probably would have rather set himself on fire than given Jim Jordan any position of authority.
In recent years, Jordan became a staunch ally of former President Donald Trump, who even awarded Jordan the Presidential Medal of Freedom in the closing days of the Trump administration, the former president endorsing Jordan in his bid for Speaker.
I think Jim will be Speaker of the House.
Their strong ties were on display in the days after the 2020 presidential election, when Trump claimed the election was stolen. Jordan echoed and amplified those doubts and worked on plans to keep President Trump in power.
Something doesn't feel right here. Our president got 9 million more votes this time than he did 4 years ago.
In the days leading up to the January 6th insurrection, Jordan, Trump, and other Freedom Caucus members held a discussion on strategies for delaying the certification of the electoral vote, according to the House January 6th committee report. And the day before, the committee wrote, Jordan texted White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, passing along a memo advising that Vice President Pence should call out the electoral votes that he believes are unconstitutional as no electoral votes at all. Jordan and Trump spoke several times on January 6, and the day culminated with Jordan joining many of his Republican colleagues to object to the certification of the Electoral College vote. Jordan has repeatedly denied wrongdoing, saying the committee has twisted the evidence. He refused to comply with a subpoena to testify. Jordan's history pushing for Trump's stolen election lies could be politically toxic for some moderate Republicans in swing districts next year.
Every Republican who casts their vote for him is siding with an insurrectionist against our democracy.
Unbelievable. Well, Joy Reid of CBS didn't hold back either in what seemed like a casual conversation with Nancy Pelosi. Reid conveniently slipped in the term political terrorist in reference to Jordan, and Pelosi's smug grin said it all. Watch.
Told them to. Let me play what another former speaker, John Boehner, had to say about Jim Jordan. Here he is.
You call some of these members political terrorists.
Oh, yeah. Jim Jordan especially.
my colleague from Ohio. I just never saw a guy who spent more time tearing things apart and never building anything, never putting anything together.
Kevin McCarthy, with the exact same majority that you had, and you were able to be very effective as Speaker with that majority, he couldn't do anything. He couldn't accomplish a thing other than get himself ousted when he was Speaker. What would the House of Representatives look like with somebody who John Boehner has called a political terrorist in charge? What would happen? Are we going to have a government shutdown? Like, what happens?
Wow. How Jordan will navigate through this maze of accusations and emerge in his bid to become the next Speaker is yet to be seen. But what stands out like a sore thumb is the undeniable moral bankruptcy on display. This is not a matter of political differences or rivalries. This is a matter of deliberate mischaracterization and downright hypocrisy. The media and the left are clear in their intentions, and as a republic, we must see it for what it is. My fellow Americans, what we've uncovered today is more than a mere political skirmish. It's a disturbing expose of the media's motives and the dangerous games some Democrats are willing to play. The audacity of labeling Jim Jordan as a terrorist while tiptoeing around true acts of terror highlights a sinister agenda bent on pushing narratives rather than truths. Such blatant double standards don't just taint our political discourse, they erode the very foundation of trust we place in our media and elected representatives. As the guardians of this great republic, it's our duty to recognize and challenge such manipulative narratives. We must demand better, seek the truth, and hold those who distort it accountable. The fabric of our society, the essence of our republic, depends on our collective vigilance against such misleading agendas. Over to Angie with a news brief on Pierre Poilievre's sharp retort that left a journalist speechless. Angie?
This week, Pierre Poilievre, leader of Canada's Conservative Party, proved he's a force not to be trifled with. In a recent press session, a journalist aimed to knock the lawmaker's populist approach, suggesting it played on emotions, sidelining logic. The Conservative powerhouse wasn't having it. He stood firm, challenging the reporter to pinpoint exactly where his strategies echoed those of former President Trump. The journalist stumbled, failing to deliver, while the lawmaker, calm and collected, highlighted the lack of substance in the questions posed. This wasn't just a win for the conservative, it was a demonstration of his political savvy, resonating with supporters on both emotional and logical grounds. Quite a few American conservatives could benefit from taking note of the Canadians' unshakable nature. Dive deeper, tap the link below. That's all the news I have for tonight. Now over to Gary with your comments from the comments section.
Welcome to the comments section on N3 Primetime. Tonight we're sifting through your astute observations in our recent expose. Iran's power play triggers superpower showdown in the Middle East. Let's dive into what real Americans think about this fiasco. Philip says, the world felt a lot safer when President Trump was in the White House. Well, Philip, you are onto something. Under Trump, our enemies knew we meant business. There was a palpable sense of American strength, and it wasn't by accident. It was by design, a direct result of policies that prioritize America's security and global standing. Next, Net to Die demands for freedom of speech and democracy, the USA should first de-gag President Trump. Indeed, it's ironic, isn't it? The nation that heralds free speech silenced a former president. What happened to the marketplace of ideas, to debate, to the foundational principles of our republic? When you silence a leader supported by millions, you silence the people. And Sean, he writes, we need peacekeepers like Donald Trump. Well, it sounds paradoxical to some, but it's the hard truth. Real peace isn't achieved through weakness, it's maintained through strength. And Trump understood that. He wasn't interested in endless wars, but he knew that peace comes from a position of power, not appeasement. And Brenda points out Obama gave Iran millions of dollars, so what does he have to say about all this? And then Biden follows him with the same action. Brenda, the sarcasm in your tone is justified. It's the classic definition of insanity, isn't it? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. We didn't just give them funds, we emboldened them and enabled them, and now we're reaping what was sown. Lastly, our Custis laments, we need Trump, and Biden says don't. Just like Kamala at our border, don't come. What a joke this is at the USA's expense. Well, here's the reality. Leadership matters. Decisions have consequences. When you project weakness, chaos follows, whether at the border or on the global stage. It's high time that we all face this. That's it for tonight's comment section. Your insights cut through the noise, highlighting the stark reality we face. So keep questioning, keep commenting. And next, we're looking at someone that's causing a major stir in our Looking at You segment. Welcome to Looking at You. Tonight we turn our focus to Vladimir Putin, Russia's longstanding leader, whose latest moves signal a bold stance that could reshape the geopolitical landscape. In a statement that's ringing alarm bells across the globe, Putin announced a significant military move. They brought 2 to the Mediterranean, he declared, underscoring that this wasn't a threat but a fact, and facts, as we know, are often the first signs of looming challenges on the world stage. He promised more information on what's next, implying a strategy that's yet to fully unfold. Watch.
They took 2 skinny ones at the aviation group in the Mediterranean Sea. I want to say it's not a threat. What's happening now, announced, I'll inform you, but on my order, the air forces, the aerospace forces of Russia are beginning to patrol on a permanent basis in the neutral zone of the airspace over the Black Sea. And our MiG-31 planes are armed with Kinjal complexes. They, as you know, have a range of over 1,000 kilometers with a speed of Mach 9.
So here's the crux. Following Putin's orders, Russia's air and space forces have initiated permanent patrolling missions in the neutral airspace zone over the Black Sea. This isn't a mere show of aircrafts. We're talking about MiG-31s equipped with Kinzhal missile systems with an ominous range of over 1,000 kilometers. This directive, known as Demand 9, isn't a routine military exercise. It's a statement. So why does this matter to us, the American people? Well, it's about more than a foreign leader flexing military muscle. It's a tangible shift in the balance of power, a potential challenge to the peace and stability we value. The Black Sea isn't just a body of water. It's a strategic chessboard where nations like the U.S. and Russia maneuver for influence. As Russia intensifies its presence there, it's crucial for us to stay vigilant, understanding that our national security isn't just about what happens within our borders. It's also shaped by actions taken on global stages, sometimes from far off shores. So his threat, even though he said it wasn't one, certainly was, because he's threatening to launch attacks, hypersonic missiles at our aircraft carriers. So for that, we're keeping an eye on you, Mr. Putin, not out of fear, but out of steadfast commitment to preserving the safety and interests of the American people. Stay informed, stay prepared, and keep watching, America. Tonight, we've navigated through stories of conflict, politics, and the sheer force of the human spirit. In the Middle East, the specter of war looms large, reminding us that America's role on the global stage isn't just influential, it's vital. We've seen power plays in the courtroom with Trump's legal saga underscoring the perilous line between justice and political vendetta. The DHS hiring debacle serves as a stern reminder that national security must never be compromised by political correctness. The media's hasty blame game in the Gaza hospital explosion is a wake-up call. Facts matter. Accuracy saves lives. And the vilification of Jim Jordan juxtaposed against the reluctance to condemn real terror is a chilling testament to the double standards that threaten the very fabric of our discourse. But amidst this, here's hope. A nun in France teaches us that courage can come from the most unexpected places. The TikTok Disney duo is a cautionary tale prompting us to safeguard our future, our children, from subtle indoctrinations. Tim Scott's campaign woes and Jindal's endorsement of Trump highlight the inner workings and high stakes of American politics. And let's not forget, Canada's Poilievre showcasing that conviction combined with intelligence is a formidable answer to bias. Tonight we've delved deep into a world teeming with uncertainty, conflict, and the relentless spirit of individuals A world that, much like a volatile stock market, is full of unpredictable rises and falls. And just as we've navigated these complex stories together, it's crucial to navigate your financial future with equal vigilance and wisdom. This is where Noble Gold Investments comes in. Imagine your wealth as a strategic game akin to intricate global politics we discuss. You wouldn't place all your troops in one country, right? Similarly, placing all your financial hopes in one basket, especially in these uncertain times, could be risky. Diversifying is key. And what's more enduring than gold and silver? Assets that have stood the test of time, much like the truth in our battle against misinformation? Real clients of Noble Gold Investments, they've experienced this strategic support firsthand. They've said the staff guided me, no high-pressure sales, just honest advice. I found peace of mind securing my family's future with Noble Gold's expertise. So why settle for the financial roller coaster when you can have stability? And here is the golden opportunity. Noble Gold Investments is offering a free 5-ounce silver America, the beautiful bullion coin with qualified accounts. It's a treasure amidst the tumult, much like discerning fact from fiction in our news today. They've earned an A+ from the Better Business Bureau and glowing 5-star reviews, so don't wait. Visit nextnewsgold.com or tap more below this video. Dive into a future as steadfast as our pursuit of the unvarnished truth. A big thanks to Angie for her sharp news briefs tonight, and to each of you for tuning in and contributing to our live chat. Your insights light up our network like stars of the American flag. So that wraps up our show. Engage with us on Twitter, share your thoughts in the comments, and help keep this community thriving. If you found value in our conversation tonight, spread the word and share the link. You're not just viewers, you're the pulse of America, the key to keeping this nation great. I'm Gary Franchi, aiming not to just gather followers, but to forge leaders in this great land. Good night, America. We'll see you.